on hold. And a lot of the things that you can do and more you can also do in other applications like ViCiDial, of course, and commercial pay-for applications like Orderly Queue. For periodic announcements, that's kind of the familiar, your call is important to us. Please stay on the line and it will be sent to the next available representative. Or mentioning some other things along the way. You don't want to play the message too frequently. Playing it every 30 seconds or even every 20 seconds. Yes, we've had a client that did that, played the periodic announcement every 20 seconds. And that leads into the next one, adjusting your frequency depending on how long your average hold time was. Well, the queue that was playing this message every 20 seconds had an average hold time in the middle of the day on Monday of about 10 minutes. So these people were hearing the periodic announcement 30 times in average time through the queue. So that was bad. We got them to change that to 90 seconds, which really helped customers or callers not be as frustrated when they eventually got on the line. Don't have a long periodic message. Having too long of a periodic message in between the music on hold is kind of redundant because it does get played multiple times. We even have some clients that just don't have one at all. They just have music on hold indefinitely. And I can't say whether that makes things better or worse, but I suppose it depends on your clientele. Dynamic announcements like playing position, you are next in line. This one, of course, can be abused. We had a client that put that in as the periodic announcement. So every time it would come on, you are next in line, even if they were 50th in line, no matter what. That was a company in Italy. Play estimated hold time. Again, same thing. That can be abused as well. It can also drive your customers away, playing estimated hold time. Although it can be useful if you've got widely varying hold times throughout the day. You can override the static prompts that play for all of these in queues. You can define what the verbiage is that it uses when it says you are next in line. Another thing to mention about this, estimated hold time can be very inaccurate if there are few agents or few callers. You can call in and it might say 15 seconds. And if an agent's on a call in one queue and they're the only agent available in that queue, and a half hour later they're on the phone for 20 minutes, it might say that the estimated hold time is 10 minutes when in fact they might be able to get on the call right away. So keep in mind you may not want to use that for small call centers. Opt-out options. These are always a favorite because they get people out of the queue. Voicemail means that you can basically send the caller to leave a message and then you can deal with them later. Sending the call to a different destination might be a way of sending a support call to a sales queue or sending a sales call into a different sales queue. A callback list is just a way of having the phone number go into a list to be called back later in various ways. I'm not going to go over that in too much detail because the setup for that just in raw Asterisk is very step-intensive, very complicated. But there are applications like, again, ViCiDial and Orderly Queue that offer a more easy GUI way of configuring the callback list option. Playing place in line and estimated hold time, if you have an opt-out option, can actually benefit you because it can get people out of the queue. It can convince them, I don't want to wait 40 minutes, so this guy just told me I can leave a voicemail, I'm going to leave a voicemail. Giving option of moving forward in line if moving to a different queue. We actually have a client that does this with ViCiDial, where they're given the option of moving to a different queue after hearing a message, a promotional message about an add-on to a product. They go into that other queue, they get sent to an agent that then sends them into the priority support queue after they're done taking an order. So it's kind of an end run around the waiting in line of the support queue, and it's a profit center, getting business out of a group that was just calling for support. Now, voicemail setup, you want to make sure that you have, if you would like to leave a message, press 1 or something like that in your message. Then inside of queues, you can set up the context that you want to have all those options in, and then you create the context. that has the press 1, the priority 1, voicemail, and then the voicemail box. And then you set the specifics for what you want to happen. And in this case, this just sends an email to sales@testing.com, and then it deletes the email or the message after the email's been sent. That's a pretty common way for a lot of call centers to handle voicemails, having it either go into an email queuing system or just have it go to a single person that's assigned to maintain messages. If you don't have those messages emailed, they can pile up very quickly. We had one client, you know, in Asterisk, you can set voicemail maximum number of messages. I think the default is 100. After 2 hours, the person called in sick. They'd been using the system and the number for about a week, and this was the first business day that this person had been sick, and after an hour, they'd had 100 voicemail messages. Now, usually this person did nothing but check voicemail messages, and so then, from then on, they were just getting voicemail boxes full for the rest of the day until later in the afternoon. One of their customers got through to the customer service line and said, yeah, your voicemail's full. And so they called us and said, what's going on? Voicemail's full. Like, yeah, you had 100 messages in 1 hour. Oh, can you raise that? So we did. We raised it up to 3,000, and they haven't called us about that since. You used to have to actually change the source code to get voicemails to get that high, but luckily you can just alter it with the configuration option now. Opt-out sending to another queue. This is just an example. We have just released our Super Widget Builder version 2. If you would like more information, press 2. If you listen to this information, we will move up your place in line. That's somewhat similar to what our client's actually using. In queues, what you do for the higher priority queue, you set the weight inside of the queues. You would set the standard queue as a weight 0 and queue priority, or the higher priority one as a weight 2. I said queue priority because that's what we call it inside of ViCiDial. You can set queue priorities for queues inside of ViCiDial in the same way. And then, of course, you have to add it to the context. Press 2, priority 1, send to the high priority queue. The callback list, as I mentioned, we're not going to go into this because there's a link there, asteriskguru.com tutorials callback.html. That page, if you printed it out, is probably 12 pages long, going into great detail of how you set up a system to do press 3 to leave a callback, which will basically take the phone number and it will email it as part of a voicemail. As I mentioned, ViCiDial and Orderly Queue already have an easy GUI way of setting that up. Now, a couple other uses for music on hold. As I mentioned, while as a part of the sales process, a customer will take a call, it will go to an agent. The customer or potential customer is very interested in the item. And then as a part of the sales process, the customer actually puts the call on hold. And on hold is this music for a few seconds, and then they go into this promotional message. And at this point in time, the agent's just sitting there doing nothing because this is part of the sales process. Our Super Widget Builder Extender will help you assemble twice as many widgets per hour. Ask your agent about one when they come back on the line. I'm sure some people here have probably heard something similar to that. That's just a sales tactic. They didn't actually have to talk to their manager. They didn't have to do anything. Nothing urgent came up. They're just trying to, in another way, send you a sales pitch without actually doing it themselves. And it actually is effective. So that's another way you can make money out of music on hold. In support and shipment tracking functions, so we've got a logistics company as a client. And most of the calls coming in are people looking for, where is my widget? I ordered it 2 weeks ago. I want to know where my widget is. And they've got a very complex logistical system set up where they ship things out through USPS, DHL, UPS, FedEx, and everything comes into their system, and they have a centralized tracking system that spits out various phrases. And you can either do it through the IVR or you can actually go to their own website. So if you need to download new drivers, you can check on the status of an order, you go right to the website. And hearing that on hold actually gets, and we've tracked when people hang up, there's a certain percentage, a significant percentage of people that will actually hang up right after hearing that phrase, and then they'll go to the website. So that's another way you can reduce your call center costs, just by referring people. You know, you don't really need to talk to a person. Why don't you just go here, and your questions will be answered here, or the status of your order is answered here. And in the end, usually that's all that the person on the phone would be doing, is going to that same website, typing in the customer information, and repeating back exactly what shows up on the screen. Or in some cases, if you want to go a little farther than that, we've actually used Allison Smith's voice on Kepstrel text-to-speech to speak back these dynamic shipping statuses for a client. So that's another option. And that's all I have for my presentation. Any questions?
Before there are any questions, be aware you're being recorded.
Yes.
And if you don't want to be recorded, don't ask any questions. But of course, if you do want to ask questions.
We are in Maryland, so we do have to tell you that. This is an all-party notification state.